Hello, everybody.
Hey guys. Yeah, I was just having trouble joining for some reason.
Hmm.
But yeah, it seems to have passed now. Nice to see everyone.
Absolutely.
Good to see you too. If I disappear, it's because my hotel Wi-Fi cut out again.
Hey, Sandy.
Hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, hoping that doesn't happen. You getting up early there, Did
you say again?
Georg, he's getting up early. He's joining us in some early morning X Spaces. I don't expect to see him next Thursday, but if he's there, I'll be there, but that's just me. Okay. Let's see. I know
you want me to share my screen?
If you're ready to go and you want to do it, yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Google Meet is asking me if I want to merge my audio with you for some reason. I'm just going to decline. I had noticed sometimes it shows two people have merged audio. I know. Let's just jump in. So I have I was just going over. I was just getting to the chat to say I was having trouble joining, but overall I have the agenda for today here. Not sure, should we wait a minute for Christian, or is he not joining? Do you know, Tex?
He will be coming. Let's get through. Let me see. I don't know that we have a full quorum yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we don't. So we're not at quorum yet.
Do elevator music.
Well, we can start with that. I mean, we're recorded, so we can get into some stuff here.
Okay.
But that'll just mean that the two things here on old business, actually, the one's moving to the end. So, yeah, we can do the developer advocate check-in, and then we can talk about project incubation if we need to. But that was looking for just a sign-off from the group, so we'll need quorum for that to make a decision. If there's any comments, we can take the comments if you like. Otherwise, I will get Christian, and we'll move over to the budget piece.
Okay. So yeah, I think if no one has any opening notes, anything that they want to point out, I would maybe pass the floor to Alex for a developer advocates check-in. Sorry to just welcome you and pass you the mic and put you on the spot, but I'm assuming you're ready for that, right?
I wish I was always, but that's never the case. Yeah, so to check in, we've been pretty busy early in this year. So the conclusion of 2024 was that we would be running a survey to know our developers better. And so we looked at the Cardano Foundation survey and what they do and what we think we could do differently. And so we ran the survey. It was simpler, shorter. It has more generic questions, and it is addressed at a wider audience, not necessarily, because I was looking at and sharing actually the CF survey with the different developers, and they tell me, oh my God, man, I have no idea what to answer, because these questions are for real hardcore Cardano experts. So together with the Tex, Christian, and the advocates, we worked out the questions for the survey. And then we shared the survey. We gathered some feedback. The feedback, the number of respondents was between the lowest and the highest, somewhere in the middle. So we are happy about participation. But yeah, the sample could be bigger to be representative. What's interesting in the survey is there are some outliers. For example, there is someone who I know personally from Gimbal Labs who's been involved in Cardano for 2 years. And so the question was actually quite, loaded in its wording, as I see it. We could do better question. But yeah, so a person responded they've been maybe there was an open answer. So they've been for 2 years and they haven't been seen yet by anyone. I'm suggesting that we will go through the responses to the developer experience survey, and I've been suggesting to the developer advocates so that we pick the outliers and reach out to them directly. Some of them I'm personally in contact with, for example, Randall Harmon, who's been very instrumental to bringing developer experience working group together in 2020. Where was it? So just in the beginning, okay. And yeah, we analyzed the results. There's some conclusions. We're going to discuss them in our group before bringing it to the committee, I think. Please go ahead.
Welcome out, Elaine. Nice to see you. So I just want to ask Alex, do you have any links that you can share on this, or are you planning to present those results in a future call with us?
We've been rushing to complete the analysis, and the deadline is set 2 hours after this call. So I suppose we will be presenting in the next meeting, but not this meeting. Okay. I'm just sharing, like ahead of time a little bit.
Yeah, it's good that way we get to start coming up to speed with how it's going.
So yeah, that's all for the chicken.
Any questions? Any follow-ups by anyone?
Yeah, I've got one here. So I don't know if you can see me, but that's okay. Yeah, I just want to mention the deadline that I actually have with the developer advocates is tomorrow to have the survey report analysis put together. By tomorrow means that we'll have some time to get that to our comms team because there's still Intersect involvement here. So we'll just get their glaze over, make sure the language is appropriate and things like that, or the formatting anyway. The plan is to release the analysis on Wednesday next week. So that's what we're looking at right now, because on Thursday, we're actually going to feature the developer advocates in our open source office hours. And so the goal there is that we're reaching the end here of Q1. There has already been discussion in previous meetings about basically the OSC taking ownership of the developer advocates, similar to how we're finding some ways to request or suggest delegate authority from the DREPs. I'm looking at some ways to suggest or request that from the committee to maintain management of the developer advocates, just so that none of you guys have to spend too much of your time. But I would work, of course, directly at whatever it is that y'all are asking for here. So we can uncover that a little bit more as we go, but the basic point is next week, OSO office hours is going to be a space that specifically highlights the developer advocates, where they've come since August of last year, and everything that they've been able to provide, present, connect with the community, all of those different types of things. So I'm going to try to keep that a little bit more like a party if I can, because there is lots to celebrate. Any questions, any feedback, anything that should be in that space, in your opinions, from what you know about the developer advocates, please let me know. But yeah, so survey is supposed to go out Wednesday. That way, that's also something that we can celebrate at that time.
Great stuff. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. So congrats for the progress, and yeah, look forward to know more about this, and namely the launch and the call and the publication of results. I think it's going to be important for OSC to put this out. I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen.
And as you do that, we can probably do, if there are comments for the project incubation reviews, we can take comments. Or actually, I think we have quorum now. I think we're 5+. 1,
So,
2, 3,
yeah,
4, 5.
I would ask for someone to catch me up on this, because I did have a chat with Tex. Meanwhile, I had to look, but overall, I'm not sure how you want to steer this topic.
So we had asked it asynchronously here, and the general consensus is that your summarizations were good enough as a rationale. I had made the suggestion that I didn't think that would be fully accepted by others. So I was just asking for anybody to add anything additional that they felt necessary. This is at the bottom where we added a section that says approve yes or no.
Yep.
Since we do have the 5, I can facilitate that through an official poll or check the reactions, whichever you prefer. And then we can have you highlight directly yes or no and take that as a response. But again, my piece here was the rationale. I just want to make sure that was not too simplistic.
Georg?
I appreciate Sandeep for adding a better rationale or extending on the rationale. So I propose that for all of the documents, we adopt a combination of what was there and adding Sandeep's comments.
Sounds good. Sandeep?
Yeah. On each of them, my rationale is the same like I presented last time. It's just adding a little bit additional what I thought could be. So I would agree that maybe combining some points together could be.
Okay. So how could we take those actions forward? Do you have any suggestions? Do you want to just, since you guys were in the weeds here, do you want to just do it yourselves and drop it here as a final text?
I don't know if we are tracking who is editing documents, just in case someone does look. Sandeep, do you want to be the one to put the text into the document, copying basically out of your comment?
I would go for ChatGPT or something that is more better at English than me. Yeah.
But would you be okay, Sandeep, to use that tool and do the coalescing of things to drop it in here?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah, as long as you can use the tool you prefer to merge the remarks, and if you're okay to drop them here, that would be perfect.
Right.
Okay, and thank you so much for your input. So overall, I think we've gone over all of them. Adam, yep.
Yeah, just a general question. What are we trying to actually accomplish with the project incubation program? Because it seems like some of the rationale is like this doesn't have the correct license, or CF is already doing something similar. But if literally our goal is just to help projects that are or want to be open source kind of match into the Intersect shape that we expect, like or is this money funding that we're talking about? Because I wasn't aware that like the project incubation program really had any like money attached to it. Because I see text that like right above this rationale is like, do we accept it or not into the incubation program? I would imagine almost anything can be incubated. It's just at a very early or later stage in the process, depending on the maturity of the project, right?
Let's go to the hands. Maybe.
I believe the incubation process was to bring projects under the umbrella of Intersect, and that Intersect then is hosting them. And so there is a commitment from our side. Tex?
Yeah, very much in a sense. So the cost comes, or the previous conversation is basically, do we accept to, we're going to have to at some point signify what is the core kernel repositories versus the others, which we have a general guidance for right now, and there's a pretty good understanding. There's 35 or 38 repos that are classified under core, and the rest of those are additional. Some of those are governance, or some of those are just Intersect or whatever, but there essentially a whole new category of repos that are in there that are under this project incubation piece. And so the money comes from us managing those, and also out of the maintainer retainer program if we're to devote any of that staff that's not going specifically to a core project to also maintain on this with those others. And yeah, Christian, go ahead.
Yep. It goes to your point, Adam. Excuse me if I have an echo. Um, Basically, this is supposed to be an open door to anyone who wants to put a project to Intersect. Now, we can reduce it when it comes to the funding programs. We're not making a mandatory incubation equals funding. It's just an optional thing you can do. So those programs themselves will have their own selection criteria as to what gets funding, but this maturity life cycle goes across the board, incubation or not, that we look for growth or mature projects to put funding into. But I think it opens up that door as to what do we want under the Intersect umbrella? Do we want to have redundancies? Do we we do have GovTool, but there's a bunch of governance tooling projects being developed. Do we want to bring in another one, etc., stuff like that? So I think the rationale was we generally didn't want to host products, but open source libraries. And maybe we could even use the tooling working group charter as some criteria to follow, like projects that would be eligible for funding. Maybe we suggest hosting those, like Mesh.js if they wanted to come over, etc. It's open for topic for us to kind of select.
So what I have on screen currently is the, let's say, the definition of the project incubation. There's also this diagram that helps paint the picture a bit better. So to recap and to help onboard Elaine, I'm going to drop it on the chat right now. And not sure if this answers your question, Adam.
I mean, it kind of does. And so I would think that like at that entry level, almost any project can be in the kind of the incubator. Because you take all of your eggs and you put them in the incubator and you see which ones hatch and turn into chicks, right? You don't try to selectively figure out if they're a good egg or a bad egg at the very beginning of the process.
Yeah, well, and that's where the whole sandbox phase kind of exists. If there ends up being contribution to grow the project, where you can reevaluate, the projects have to get reevaluated before they go up a maturity level, typically. So you can keep that control about how they're graded, but it is a open door. I just don't know if we want to restrict it to certain criteria, but.
Thanks. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to progress. Personally, something like this, like the Cardano serialization library, yeah, I would tend to think it's something that makes sense for us. But sorry, who does anyone want to jump in?
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
Just on the earlier point about that, like I would be more okay if it was a different GitHub organization that would be hosting these projects before it is out of incubation. It's a proper standard project under Intersect. Then we could have more open criteria for getting into the incubation. Otherwise, it could lead to confusion that if it is under Intersect organization directly, those projects are they get more legitimacy, and people might get wrong idea, like what's the status of the project under those, can they trust it well or not? Because incubation doesn't mean like it's fully there, it's fully safe, fully secure. It's a starting point. So if it could be github.com/intersect-mbo-incubation and then the project repo, then I think I would be more open to something like that. If there's that opinion.
I agree with you. I mean, it's supposed to be a risk mitigation thing. It ties in a landscape tool that I want to put up, where it shows the company what projects that they're incubating under Intersect 2. But to tie into kind of what the ask of this is for everyone who submits something for our review, the OSC has to put a recommendation whether we recommend Intersect to adopt or not, and then the rationale behind that. So that's kind of what the activity is. I think for Emergo, we said no to the carbon credits. some product thing. We do want to incubate the serialization library, and then there's a no on the other one. So this is just us trying to pioneer how this works. But this workflow is more from the viewpoint of the people who want to submit, increasing their odds of getting across the OSC and TSC. So essentially, we're at that go, no-go stage where we're writing the recommendations. So the three that basically we're saying we don't recommend, they go back to Emergo. They can edit their proposals if they need to add stuff according to our rationale and then reapply, or they just host the project and do something else. But the CSL, if we put our recommendation, we would push it to the TSC then. Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say like CSL is a clearly mature project and should be considered part of Cardano Core. Like just like Sandeep said, like almost everything, including all of our quote unquote magical JavaScript serialization libraries, are secretly just using CSL and they're just wrappers around it. So I don't even know why there's a question there in terms of whether or not it's critical. Just because it didn't come from IOG doesn't make it any less critical to the ecosystem. And worthy of the same level of support. So they should have been going directly for core budget, in my opinion. The other three I'm okay with. I get it, because we don't necessarily want to be hosting projects. And Sandeep, I totally understand also that legitimacy question. Like, ooh, look at me, I'm an Intersect incubated project. A concern I have though is that every time we reject them, all they have to do is change a word and then come back, and we have to read the same proposal again. Like there's potentially the vampire attack vector against the open source committee if we're going to have to do this for every project that wants to keep knocking on the door to get that badge of legitimacy.
What we could do is tie in a reapplication time period to it. So if you get rejected, we could have 3 tiers: yes, no, and maybe. Like reword the maybe, where we're interested, but we need more clarification before we could accept it. And then if you got a not accepted, you reapply in 6 months or something, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, possibly that still requires you or Tex or somebody to recognize those things, right? Like, so like these sound trivial when there's 5 applications. When there's 500, it becomes much more of an issue and a full-time job just to start filtering through these tasks.
Yeah, it'll definitely be open source office, full scope remit to manage it. So no worries there. It's what helps give Intersect its lifeblood at the end of the day. So.
I like the idea to have clear out reject, revise and resubmit suggestion, and an accept recommendation as the 3 possible responses.
Any thoughts on that?
I like
Could you say again, Georg? I wanted to make a note. Sorry. Reject. You're on mute. Sorry, mate.
I put them
Thank
in
you.
the chat.
Super. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm trying to make notes today on the other screen so that we can maybe drop them on the chat or something like that, and help us gather actions for later. I'm not going to be showing them all the time, but yeah, just wanted to keep you in the loop about this, and hopefully we can be more productive in terms of following up with actions. Thanks. Sandeep?
Oh, it's me.
It was just an appreciation. That's great.
Cool.
No, I was just going to say that I put the polls up there, so little shapes down the bottom right. There's 5 voting members, so I'll look for those 5 individuals to be responding. And then if you respond, and let's say well, I don't know that we have any revise with recommendation or something like that. If there is any revise, just put that in the chat is all I'm going to say. So give the project and then revise.
Just give me a sec while I put in my responses as well.
What I'll do for homework too is after this call, I'll kind of set up general criteria for projects that we encourage to apply. And then a general statement for things we're not looking to support. And then we could cross collaborate with the TSC on that too.
I think we had criteria around here already, right? So I'm not saying don't do it. Just try to build on this one. Review it maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe put more types of projects. I don't know.
Okay.
I kind of want to copy the tooling proposal on that one.
Okay.
Not saying that I wouldn't want to host a poker game as a project, but less strategic value, I would say.
Okay. So I think any more remarks on this topic, or so the actions I have is Christian will be reviewing the criteria for your entry. Georg suggested accept recommendation, review, revise and resubmit or reject. I think we have evolution on that on the chat. So rewards calculation. I'm not sure, Johnny and Adam, do you want to voice a bit
Those
what
were
you
just
meant
our
here?
votes because text didn't add revise to the polls.
Ah.
He only added yes or no.
Okay. Okay, I'll assume Tex got that note.
One more time, sorry, just real quick.
So on the rewards calculation,
Yes.
you know, the response from Johnny, Adam, and Sandeep is that they should be revised.
Correct.
Okay. So that will be this one.
Yeah,
Yes.
or at least we can give them another shot, and then the other two are kind of a straight no. If they
Okay.
if they can revise the rewards calculation and make it look attractive, then maybe.
Okay. Just making a note.
Yeah, the rewards calculation was the one that had a lot of "we'll tell you later."
Okay. So anything else? Can I close this topic or?
One point on that, maybe on the entry eligibility, we could have that as a criteria that it need to be complete as an application before it can be evaluated. Otherwise, yeah, it would be revised.
Okay. So have like an MVP at least type of criteria, right?
At least from the application perspective, there is a lot of the fields are just not written, like they will provide that information later. If that is the case, then they can submit the application also later when they have the information.
Okay. Jörg?
In academic journals, that is called the desk reject, where the editor looks at the proposal and says from the very beginning, hey, this is not enough to send to reviewers. And so at the top of the document says Christian prepared this. So Christian, as a committee request to you, when you have a proposal that is not fully filled out, maybe you hold it back and work with the original submitters to get all that information before you forward it to us.
Yep, we'll work to get that put in there.
Okay. Sounds good. I think we're making progress on this part in terms of establishing the process and the approach criteria and all that. Maybe let's go back to the agenda. So,
That's gonna
sorry,
move to the end.
okay.
So
Okay,
if
so
you
let's
wanna
jump to
mention-
the budget.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
So on this, you know, there's been a huge budget pivot. I'm not sure if anyone wants to jump in and share a bit the chain of changes But in a nutshell, from my point of view, as you probably saw from social media sharing and announcements, now we don't have the say on, the budget that we did is now a guideline for people to submit free format type of or free themed proposals that then get gap analyzed against our roadmap. And to be honest, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to be managed, but I'll just pass the floor to Christian.
I'll let Adam go first so I know how to address it.
Yeah, so for one, I don't think there was ever actually any criticism of our budget. We just got caught up as the baby with the bathwater, essentially. But I very much believe that all of our proposals, or at least most of them, already were that the open source office of Intersect was going to establish and set up and run these programs with clear-cut criteria and clear-cut amounts and deliverables. So I think that largely, probably 99% of our budget, we could just resubmit under this new framework, as this is a project that the Intersect open source office is going to engage in with the support and guidance of the elected open source committee, and we will be just fine and we can proceed as normal. So I know this budget shift has been highly disruptive to a lot of other committees and their workflows, but for us, I feel like we're one of the least impacted groups by this disruption.
That is correct. So the new guidance that we have is we just take our whole budget and submit it in the new process. The only thing we're working out is what we're calling the delegation of authority, i.e. with the proposal, we're asking the DREPs to allow the open source committee to manage this specific pot of money on their behalf. So we're just working out the terminology on that. And so what I have done so far, I'm going to share screen real fast, Lucas.
Sure.
Is I'll submit this to y'all after this call. I'm just having Lawrence go over the final tailored piece of it. But essentially what we're going to do is this is going to be the supplemental proposal that we attach to the HubSpot form. And it basically just goes over at least some basic sections, governance of the delegated authority, where we're asking the DREPs to give us the authority to manage it, why we're doing it, essentially, the proposed scope and governance further, budget breakdown, allocation, our expected ROI, and then supporting documents. So the executive summary just kind of covers what's already on the Cardano forum. All I did was draft or expand into a quick summary what that was. And then here we're just asking for the DREPs. This is probably what's going to change depending on the lawyer talk. But we're helping pioneer how the TSC is going to do their version of this as well, etc. And then problem statement, proposed scope, i.e. here's the programs, what we're expecting to do, high level. Here's the categories of the projects, the funding amounts, USD equivalent, and then the expanded work that we've done, white paper, contribution ladder, all the different programs, how they tie in, etc. Johnny?
So would it be fair to say that this is an attempt to carve out the open source committee as going through the original process and getting confirmation from the DREP that that's okay?
That's kind of the idea behind it. The reason we're doing it that way is because the programs are so entwined that asking the DREPs to take over the work completely is out of this, like, redoes their remit or what they would want to do, because asking 800 some DREPs to manage 100 maintainer contracts is kind of a nightmare. Whereas if we still put it where the OSO runs it, the OSC is a delegated authority of the DREPs to manage this. We do transparent audit reports. It ties in the old process with the new process, but makes it explicitly clear that the DREPs have approved this as a whole.
Yeah, which is what I would argue would have been the best thing to do in the face of the suggested pivot in the first place, is to actually verify with the D-reps if they were okay with the original approach. So I'm very happy to see that this committee is actually trying to get confirmation from the D-rep body that they're okay with us having delegated authority as committee members, which was not something that was done between the Twitter space that was the catalyst of all this and the pivot that was announced a few weeks later. I'm very glad that you're doing
Yeah.
this. Thank you.
Well, I think we're ending up where all the committees are trying to land somewhere in the middle, where elections will have some D-rep validation vote or something like that. So the committee members are D-rep approved, quote unquote. And then any of the committee budgets are also tied into a delegation of authority and D-rep ratification of that, so that the committees can manage their own budget if the D-reps approve it. And then you do have the open door with the new process where anyone can submit. And the HubSpot ties in those proposals with a committee to review and manage as an audit body. So I think we're landing somewhere in the middle.
I'm just very glad that someone is actually putting in the middle step that wasn't put in before. So
Yeah.
hooray for that.
Well, I'm gonna take the bullet for it because I don't like the it's now open to the ether per se, because then the open source program kind of doesn't make sense. It's gonna have to, if it's not this committee, it's gonna be a different body that does the exact same proposal step. So yeah, I might set up a mini MBO if need be.
Well, maybe not an MBO, because then you'd have to have internal members, maybe a different organizational structure so that the T-reps could get involved.
Well, for $10, each of you can be a member of that organization.
So I see. Yeah, if you want to take on the full delegated authority approach and it doesn't come up on Intersect, yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Anyway, once I get the legality of how the DOA words are supposed to be submitted, I'll send this to y'all. So I would expect end of day latest. And I've been told to hold off submission until next week. So yeah.
Welcome, Abs. Not sure if anyone wants to speak to what's being shared on chat. On the accelerator, we're going to touch on it later for Elaine, and also on the elections and all that. On the topics we have currently, anyone?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I think Elaine kind of brought it up too. The accelerator program, need to do a quick poll if we had approval from that for the commercialization working group.
I was waiting for Chris to show up because he said he was going to. So that's designed to be like the last topic.
I can run through it in lieu of him not being here, because I know he canceled the commercialization working group later today. So
Right,
I
but he did
take
confirm
questions from-
attendance twice. So that's all I was saying.
Yeah, I'll have him
Okay,
get mad at me later.
Just bringing this back into scope. So we've gone through this, we've parked this one, we were here. And on this one, I just wanted to, again, they're very, very rough. But in terms of my notes on this is like, that now we've shifted to this open proposals methodology or process. We've had these remarks, and the main action I have here, or the main follow-up, is that Christian is to share this draft of the proposal document. My question to follow up on this, and welcome Christian Kowalski as well. My follow-up here is a bit like, with all this, do we have some sort of a draft for actually, after we get this delegation of authority from DREPs, to actually do our work of asking for vendors and assigning vendors and all that? Johnny?
Well, there is currently a proposal form that is omniform for all different types of committees, and the project who's applying themselves can select the open source committee as their target audience. Now, under the pivoted method, that would have went to DREPs first for them to vote on which projects gets prioritization and support. But if we get the delegated authority, the end result of that form submission would be coming to us as the committee instead with that delegated authority and continuing as we would have done before. So there is a form, and I'll get you a link to it. And I think the
Okay.
form will be used under both processes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if we do get the delegated authority, nothing changes from the old process that we were going to do. It's just having validation. That
I
we're
just wanted
going to do
to bounce off you that we're okay to just then actually go back and forth with all this, look at vendors, discuss them, and I imagine that's going to be a bit, let's say, tedious or troublesome even. Adam.
Yeah, just pointing out that there's not actually vendors for most of our proposed
Okay.
OSC line items, because it's not like we would be hiring an entity like Project Catalyst to then run the incubation program. That would be that is what Christian and Tex as the open source office of Intersect do. And this
Okay.
is just the budget that they can spend from as part of that. And then they act with oversight from the OSC essentially. So they work for us through Intersect. So we become the vendor essentially for probably 90% of those budget line items that we had for OSC, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only ones that leave the gray area is like the project support stuff, where we might have someone in mind, but we could do our own mini RFP with y'all if you wanted to, and have multiple vendors and different pricing and stuff.
Okay.
Because I think even like legal consultation, the only enterprise member we have is Storm, but I also have friends who are open source license specific professionals that we could tie in and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
but it's a small bucket of money anyway.
Okay. So now I actually have the form from Johnny Kelly. So I'm just going to drop it here. Personally, I have one point regarding the budget and all the situation. So as you know, one component of the overall budget was a part of it going to Intersect. And I'm guessing that's where we would be having some support stipends for open source committee seats. What I've, so far I've raised it with ISC that I feel like we are all contributing here. A number of people are in the Intersect leadership team. They're on, they have their job there at Intersect. And as myself, I'm curious now, or I would love, and I would really want Intersect through ISC or whoever to define a position whether we are entitled to this support stipend, and there will be back pay since we were elected back in October, or no, we cannot expect that, and we would only be able to see that amount coming through from when the budget gets approved. Does anyone want to share on this?
Chris is on the budget committee. So.
Okay. You're on mute, I feel.
Yeah, I have several.
Now we're here.
Several mute buttons. Hi all. So speaking as budget committee member, this is we saw the stipend position in almost every budget, in every committee. The proposal from Intersect was 1,000 ADA for chair and 500 ADA for member, which is fine if we're just meeting once a week and nobody does anything. You are now third or fourth committee, not member, committee, that's complaining, and that I'm hearing directly, not from somebody. We don't have so many committees. This is a problem. There are people are working. I just spoke with, I have 3 TSC members in another room. I spoke with them and they're saying, oh, we're working between 10, 20, 30 hours a week for free. You can now say, oh, but they're on salary. Yes, 2 of them are. But they're not on salary to be on TSC. They're on salary to work on Cardano project, which there is a contract for, not to be member of TSC or Intersect. Same as I'm here. I'm sitting in all of Intersect meetings in my free time. That means it's eating my life or business. And I'm decent. I'm not okay. And Lucas, you said, are we going to be paid from the October today? We should be. And we have raised this question as a budget committee on top of for everybody from all committees, and we haven't received an answer. I'll ask again on Monday. We'll have a very, very heated conversation on Monday. It's not nuclear, but it's like very radioactive. I'm just gonna add a line item, like we need to talk about it. So you have been heard, and I'll give you. I'll send the feedback through somebody, probably through Discord. But I agree with you completely, and I told TSC members, I think committee members should receive 2,000 or 3,000 ADA based where they are. And if you're in Argentina or Africa, I think you should get more versus you're in Europe or in North America, because those people are probably working more and it's hard for them to separate their livelihood. And this isn't like, this is too much work. And we're not even talking about further work that should be delivery assurance or auditing of proposals and all of that, over the work. That's simply crazy.
Okay, it was great to have you here to give us this feedback, and it's great to know that the budget committee is also on the topic, and that other committees are expressing their concerns. I saw some reactions here as well, so I'm not just speaking for myself. You can see the committee is sensible to this situation. And yeah, it will be very important for me I think it's a timely thing. It needs to be, they need to be defining, they need to define a position. Otherwise, they're just going to keep dragging it until, more months pass or something like that. So I would hate to see that happen. And as I've expressed to the ISC, it does have an impact on people's motivation, engagement, and outcome, especially on the more serious other committees as well, for like thinking of TSC. Yeah, I don't think we want to put that in risk, right? Anyone else?
Yeah, I was going to say too, we still got to, with the proposals process, Intersect itself has to submit its own proposal for funding, and I think the incentives will be included in there somehow. So
okay,
like the open source office, like when we did our budget back in October, we had our breakdown of what the open source office costs. Something similar needs to be prepared for Intersect. So that should be coming.
Adam?
Yeah, I would just go on record as, mirroring what Christian and yourself already said, Lucas, that, this is easily 10 plus hours per week per committee with all the document reviews and out of band meetings and asynchronous communication channels and everything. So I totally get that feeling that Intersect is eating my life, to quote Christian, because I often find myself going, oh, wow, the day is already over and I haven't gotten very much productive work done. I've been in meetings all day or whatever. So very much that needs to be compensated, or we need to figure out a way to make committee participation less time consuming, either one or the other.
Okay, great stuff. Thanks for your input, and I think we're sort of aligned about this. So yeah, I made these notes here. Again, I'm going to share them on the chat, and yeah, I think it was important to raise it, and that we got nice insight regarding this topic and this topic. So cool. Okay, so we don't have much time on today's call. Let's just try to go through this. So nothing more on this, I think. Here, I just wanted to add a point to.
Can we
sorry.
let Christian go real quick on the accelerator proposal recommendation? Because I believe that's why he joined the call.
Sure.
Hi all, again me. Just to give you curveball, just recently heard that Antler VC is super interested in this initiative. I had a call this morning with Nick Cook and Matsume from Emurgo. Antler VC wants to do very similar thing for Cardano. They're exploring how to approach this, and they would definitely like to work with this accelerator that's being set up. So if there is any more doubt in you, I would really like to hear. We haven't built the full program yet because we don't need to start till June, but the overall sentiment from the community and business alike, or lean towards Cardano, they're very enthusiastic about it. If you have any questions, how feasible and what the benefits would be, I'm open to questions.
Adam?
Yeah, so I was just getting ready to type it into the chat, but so I guess my biggest question is, how do you see the open source committee? Like, do you see a need for the open source committee to oversee this program? Because I know like the proposal was probably largely due to the older budget process, or do you think this is something that Tweeg or whoever's hosting could just go directly for funding themselves?
This is not Tweeg, this is Intersect. So I'm part of it, but I'm not running this as a company. We are going to run this as an Intersect. This isn't going to be a vendor. This is not going to be a for-profit. This is going to be for community, not even for community. This is going to be for the treasury. So the goal of this program is to drive transactions that they're turning more than they're spending. That's the goal of this. So there is a graph of spending and the graph of treasury is removing. And this needs to be a program, a multi-year program for each year that we're going to apply and push transactions so they're returning more than they're spending. That's the only thing. This isn't a for-profit. We cannot be for-profit for many reasons. And the goal of Intersect and all of this needs to be enabling the community, enabling the space, but this is the target. This is the KPI. Everything else is marketing. This is what really matters. If we get 1 ADA from the treasury, there needs to be at least 1.2 ADA transactions revenue.
I would add this is the last piece of the paid open source model about driving return to the treasury. So as well,
guys,
trying to.
We're really coming up on time. So if I may, I just wanted to add as well, I am sympathetic to this initiative. I'm not sure exactly. I agree that sometimes it could, we could question whether it fits under the OSC or not. But I'm literally going to take a train now, go to Lisbon and see CV Labs had just got 1.5 million or whatever, and Tim Draper, and we keep throwing money at, well, at least we are doing it now from Catalyst. And the question in my mind is, what if we just gave 1 million to the Catalyst team so they can have project success, the ones that were funded by Catalyst? So it sounds a bit like an opportunity to have a bit of incubation within Intersect as well. And so I would tend to agree with what Christian is pointing out. Adam, do you want to voice your thumbs down, please?
Oh yeah, I'm strongly opposed to giving Catalyst any more money. They've already received tens of millions of dollars and haven't been able to actively accelerate commercial programs. So I'm ready for somebody else to have a chance.
Okay, but what I was thinking is, I don't think VCs from the outer world like Tim Draper or CV Labs are the place to go. So that's why I was commending having something more Cardano native. Cheers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just don't think Catalyst is right. I think they don't have the bandwidth.
Okay.
To
Yeah, they tried to do it with Catalyst Network, and it was not so good. Guys,
Can we get a quick vote to approve the accelerator proposal from everyone here? Just so I can notate it and make sure it's included in our budget proposal.
Do you want to do thumbs up or
round poll?
Yeah, it's for that 50K proposal Christian put together.
All right, so voting seats only, please. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Everybody.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks for being practical, guys. Any more points? Let me just share my screen again. So yeah, this is really just a quick word on inviting OSC members, especially after the call, the talk we just had, to come by the commercialization working group where this incubator initiative is happening. Sorry, I'm juggling a bit. Come by the commercialization working group and articulate with the developer advocates and with the what's the other group? Sorry, the developer experience working group. So there, I've had a word about, are they doing onboarding versus are they doing DevX? It would be great to have more people from the OSC sitting in on the DevX working group calls so that we can start coming back to this call and have a discussion about it, how the working groups have been going. Tex?
Yep, I'll take that next one.
Thank you.
So I believe I've already moved it into the shared drive. If you don't find it, I'm sorry. I'll post about it at some point. But between now and next week and beyond that, I'd just like the committee asynchronously to think about if there are any changes or anything, since you all would be essentially taking over the management or responsibility, or you guys be the stakeholders for it. Let us know what needs to be in there, what needs to change. Keep in mind, it is still very, very old. It's the original draft before we even started changing a whole bunch of formatting. So anything you can do or suggest with that, please feel free. And actually, let me just grab the link because I'm pretty sure I have it in here.
Okay, so I'm making a note.
Yeah.
Action for everyone to give input on the Dev Advocate document that you're going to share, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And last one, if we can just jump ahead a bit, there was already one space. I can drop the link for that one if you want to recap. Johnny was there, Georg was there, I was there, and it would be great to have more people from the committee coming to this space on April 3rd. There is this document here that introduces the Intersect elections. I'm going to drop it on the chat, and I would really encourage everyone here to think who they could challenge to get engaged with this. And even if not to apply to run, it would be very important that we have a healthy base of people, of Intersect members, voting and helping us triage and elect the best people for the seats. We're going to have 5 seats coming in after April into this committee. So that's going to definitely make a change on the pace, and so that's what I can say in a minute about the elections. And by the way, we have Elaine on the call. Not sure if you want to say hi for a sec, but we met Elaine on the open source office open hours, the X space, and from there I've seen her on the Hydra working group call. And Elaine, do you want to introduce yourself very quickly? Just in a few
Yeah,
sentences.
sure. Yeah, CTO of IDA. We're doing points on point system on Cardano, and I'm a longtime contributor to Hydra. I used to be at Socius as head of product, and I used to be at SundaySwap, which is where I did the Hydra stuff and other layer 2 stuff. So yeah, technical background, but yeah.
Thank you. Well, one of the things I was doing on that Hydra call was challenging them to have some more Hydra people on our side. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to jump in. I don't want to take your time over the scheduled time. Any closing thoughts? Adam?
Am I not Hydra enough for you, Lucas?
You are. That's why I corrected my sentences, said more Hydra heads. But anyway. Maybe you guys should network, actually. Elaine has an interesting project that she's presenting to. She was presenting to Sebastian. Is it Sebastian? From Hydra. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so
Sorry, who are you saying that I should talk to?
Adam Dean on the call here
oh, yes,
is
yes.
very much connected with Hydra.
Yeah. I think we met.
You are connected as well. Yeah. I've noticed.
Adam's become the poster boy for Hydra involuntarily.
Guys, sorry to be rushing a bit towards the end, but any last thoughts before we go on to our lives today? Okay.
Enjoy your journey.
Continue to exist as Kelly does, as Johnny Kelly does. Okay. All the best. Speak soon.
Thank you all.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you all.